Have you seen these videos?
What's your car payment and what do you drive?
Nissan GTR, payment $1,650.
Dinar, what's your car payment and what car do you have?
My car payment is $700 and I drive a CLA.
Okay.
What's your car payment and what do you drive?
Oh, God.
What do you drive and what's your car payment?
I got a 2024 Grand Highlander. I pay $1,200 a month.
There's a lot to unpack here. When I first saw them, I thought, this is insane. I kept watching and somehow the payments just kept getting bigger.
What's your car payment and what do you drive?
Just short of $2,700 a month.
But then I started thinking more critically about this. Who is making these videos? And more importantly, why are so many people publicly confessing to paying an absurd amount for a car?
I don't get it. Why are they confessing? They're not confessing.
They're bragging.
So who's making these videos? Well, in a lot of cases, they're local car dealerships throughout the country, and they're using a tactic called soft marketing. This kind of marketing prioritizes providing helpful and engaging content that addresses customer needs and interests rather than solely focusing on the product features or benefits. It's advertising without doing it directly. And in some cases, it can genuinely be helpful and rather harmless. But what these dealerships are trying to do is far from that in my eyes. Their goal is to make people comfortable with numbers that should be shocking. Think about it. Nearly half of Americans are financially illiterate, and very few Americans can buy a new car outright in cash. According to NerdWallet, about 85% of new car buyers finance their purchase, and a little more than half finance on used vehicles. This is partly because the average price of a new car in the US is right around $50,000, and the average monthly payment is $745 for new or $521 for used. That's according to Experian. So clearly, this kind of marketing is working. And with interest rates for auto loans near record highs, plus loan terms stretching to 72 or even 96 months, the industry has never needed more than it does right now to make these insane car payments seem completely normal. But I think here's the part that most people don't realize. When you finance a car, the dealer isn't just a middleman. In many cases, financing is where they can make more money than on the car itself. And the bigger your payment, the better it is for them. It's often referred to as a dealer reserve. Dealers can add a markup to the interest rate you qualify for. So maybe the bank says you're approved at 7.5%, but the dealer tells you 9.5%, and they pocket the difference as a reserve. That extra 1 or 2% may not sound like much, but over a 6 or 7 year loan, it can add thousands to what you end up paying. And because it's buried in monthly payments, instead of upfront on the sticker price, most buyers don't even notice. According to a 2020 analysis by MIT, about 78% of dealer-arranged loans carried a marked up interest rate, and the average markup was 1.08 percentage points. Now, it's not illegal for them to do this, and dealers don't even have to tell you if you're being offered a loan with a marked up rate, which makes the economics of buying a car even more shady today, in my opinion. But this is also where the longer loans come back into play. A dealership can hand you a loan with a higher interest rate and stretch it across 5, 6, 7, or even 8 years, and suddenly that affordable payment is padding two pockets at once. The lender collects years of extra interest, while the dealer takes their cut right off the top. I'm also not sure most people realize that these longer term loans weren't that common even just 20 years ago. All of these longer loans really began to take over after the financial crisis in 2008, when automakers needed to keep sales moving. In 2024, Fitch Ratings reported that a record 66% of auto loans were for 72 months or longer. That stat is just insane to me. And I'm going to circle back to the potential consequences of that in just a moment. But before we do, I want to explain how automakers benefit from this entire setup too. When $800, $900, or even $1,200 a month starts to sound like a standard car payment, it changes what people think is reasonable to finance. So instead of fighting to keep prices down, most manufacturers can lean into higher trims, luxury features, or just bogus extra packages that they tack on at the final point of sale, oftentimes locking normal features that the car should already have behind additional paywalls. And this is obviously on top of the already expensive price point for the vehicle. But dealers know many customers will just spread it across a longer loan, especially if they can convince the customer they need to have these extra features like an extended warranty, a paint protection package, or whatever they're trying to sell that usually ends up being pure profit for the dealership. So when you watch these TikToks or YouTube shorts of employees casually rattling off a $1,200 car payment, It's a subtle trick to try to make this normal. And the more that idea takes hold, the easier it is for the whole industry to just keep pushing the limits of what buyers will accept.
How much are you paying each month?
$930.
Troubling times on the American road. 2 years ago, Alejandra Graciola bought her EV for $60,000.
Is that pretty high for you? I mean, does it break your budget?
It is.
Graciola isn't alone. In 2024, more than 4% of auto loan holders had car payments of $1,000 or more. That's up from 1% in 2020.
So what's the result of all of this? Well, more and more buyers are finding themselves underwater on their loans. That's when they owe more than the car is even worth. It's one of the most dangerous financial positions to be in, because the second you drive off the lot, your car starts losing value. The majority of vehicles are considered depreciating assets, which I'd like to believe most people know, but maybe they don't. And that means that the majority of buyers are locked into 6 or 7 year loans, often on cars that will lose a third of their value within the first year or two, and it's a perfect recipe for negative equity. And here's how that plays out. When people want to trade in their vehicle before their loan is paid off, that leftover balance obviously doesn't disappear. Dealers roll it into the next loan. So you're not just financing the new car, you're carrying debt from the previous car along with it. It's called rolling negative equity. And it's how someone can trade in a $20,000 car and still somehow owe $30,000 on it. And this is partially why car salesmen and the people in the dealership's finance department focus almost exclusively on one thing. How low can we get the monthly payment? And that might sound counterintuitive, especially in a video about normalizing rising car payments. But that's the trick. They don't want to bring the total price down. In fact, they want to do the opposite. But they need to make the payment look small enough to get you to sign. Stretch the loan out over 7 or 8 years, and suddenly the payment seems manageable. But you know what's going to make all of this worse? Tariffs. Or we should really just be calling them import taxes, because that's what they are. And I know some people don't want to hear the truth about them, but honestly, I'm just relaying what the CEOs are telling their investors. So here's the reality. Automakers are already taking multi-billion-dollar hits from Trump's tariffs, and they're not going to eat these losses forever. General Motors expects annual losses of up to $5 billion from them. Ford expects to lose $3 billion from them. And remember, Ford is one of the most American-made manufacturers in the country. Toyota is warning of a $9.5 billion hit from them as well. On a global scale, the auto industry so far has absorbed nearly $12 billion in losses from tariffs, one of the largest hits since the pandemic. There is no possible way these companies are going to continue to eat these exorbitant costs. So what that means for potential buyers is higher prices. But I have a feeling it won't be all in the sticker price. It'll show up in different ways. Subtle price increases across different trims. Dealers will mark up destination fees, which is a fee they charge customers for the car being shipped to the dealer. Or they'll mask these fees and other hidden costs and bake it into the monthly payment. But the worst thing I think they'll do is some companies will likely cut corners on quality or remove features altogether before they raise prices outright. Another hidden penalty in disguise, a form of shrinkflation, if you will. So while these TikToks might come across as harmless as you're mindlessly scrolling, I think the reality is much darker. They're trying to condition folks into thinking massive debt is ordinary, and once that happens, it stops looking like a problem. But my only question is, if $750 is the average car payment today, what's all of this going to look like in 5 years? If you enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about why young people are struggling financially today, I covered it from a broader angle in this video here. Check it out next. Thanks for watching.